Here in New York City,
it has taken us a long time to get to this point.
Ilyasah Shabazz, daughter of the late Malcolm X, announcing a $100 million lawsuit against the CIA, FBI, and New York police, asserting they all had roles in Malcolm X's assassination in 1965.
The Commerce Department showing retail sales up.
It has taken us a long time to get to this. Seek justice for the assassination of our father, and that the
Facing a death penalty for his questionable conviction for the shaken baby death of his 2-year-old daughter in 2002, the Supreme Court of Texas just removed one hurdle.
Robert Robertson was set for execution last month when the Texas Supreme Court halted the procedure to allow the 57-year-old to testify before a legislative committee. In the end, Robertson did not appear, but his supporters did and argued that he was wrongly convicted and sentenced to die. Now the Supreme Court has removed its temporary block, saying its authority had been circumvented by state lawmakers. No new execution date has been set. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Missouri authorities say the cases are not related, but a state highway patrol trooper, David McKnight, and Julian Alcala, an officer for the St. Louis suburb of Florissant, were indicted separately for pulling over women for traffic stops, then rifling through their phones looking for nude pictures, according to investigators. I'm Richard Cantu, ABC News.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality, certified pros at Angie.com.
10 a.m. and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
I'm Gil Walter, KBNU News. News is brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. A 62-year-old man has been arrested for groping a woman on a Connect Transit bus Tuesday afternoon, according to law enforcement. Francisco Javier Lopez was booked into the Cache County Jail on Wednesday. According to an arrest affidavit, management at the Connect Transit Center contacted Cache County Sheriff's deputies who handle patrolling the valley-wide bus service. Officials reported that a male individual had touched another passenger inappropriately on a bus. Transit managers had pulled video of the alleged incident. It reportedly showed the male suspect, later identified as Francisco Lopez, riding one of the buses on Tuesday. Deputies reported that as Lopez was getting off the bus, he appeared to stop in front of the alleged victim and spoke to her. During the conversation, he was seen reaching his hand out and touching her inappropriately. According to jail records, Lopez was booked on suspicion of forcible sexual abuse. He's currently being held pending arraignment of formal charges in Logan's 1st District Court. A Lehigh man is facing a criminal charge accusing him of causing an explosion at his apartment complex while suffering a mental health crisis. Dong Hee Kang, age 57, was charged in 4th District Court Thursday with aggravated arson, a first-degree felony. On October 22nd, Kang put gas bottles onto a cooking pot that had been placed in the bathroom and turned on the burner. The pot also contained an open bottle of rubbing alcohol. The result was an explosion that damaged their apartment, including windows and door frames. According to charging documents, Kang and her husband sustained minor injuries, and 90 families were evacuated at 4 a.m. from the Lehigh Tech apartments. At the time, Lehigh police said the explosion appeared to be related to a mental health episode. Police said authorities have taken the necessary steps to ensure that the individual involved received the help they needed. New numbers shows Utah's non-farm payroll employment for last month increased an estimated 1.9% across the past 12 months, with the state's economy adding a cumulative 32,900 jobs since October 2023. The Utah Department of Workforce Services reported this morning that Utah's current job count stands at 1,782,800. Ben Crabb, chief economist with the Utah Department of Workforce Services, said that October's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate is estimated at 3.5%. Approximately 63,800 Utahns are unemployed. That is still well below the national unemployment rate, which remained unchanged at 4.1%.
It appears that the rapid increase in the state's unemployment rate that has taken place since April, when the rate sat at just 2.8%, is unlikely to continue apace in the coming months.
The latest numbers show northern Utah has even lower unemployment rates. Cache County currently sits at 2.9%. Box Elder County is at 3%, and Rich County sits at 2.6%. Crabb said the state's goods-producing industries have helped Utah maintain steady job growth and continue to outperform the nation.
The Federal Reserve instituted another interest rate cut at their meeting in early November, this time a smaller quarter-point cut compared to the half-point in September. It is likely that the Fed will continue a series of these smaller rate cuts over the next year to ensure that the job market remains robust. With inflation moving closer to the Fed's 2% target, these rate cuts will be designed to maintain the low unemployment rates and continued job growth observed over the last year.
7 of the 10 major private sector industry groups posted net year-over-year job gains. They were led by education and health services, construction, and manufacturing. Trade, transportation, and utilities, leisure and hospitality, and other services experienced year-over-year job losses. KVNU weather brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified orthopedic surgeon, experienced in successful surgeries for sports medicine and arthritis. Visit drkeithnelsonortho.com. That's drkeithnelsonortho.com. And a winter weather advisory in effect for the mountain areas until 3 o'clock Saturday. Anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow possible in the mountains of northern Utah. And we do have rain in our forecast tonight, possibly mixing with snow after 11 o'clock tonight. New snow accumulation, though, of less than half an inch possible, and then about a half inch possible of snow in the morning, and then it's pretty much out of here by 11 a.m. tomorrow. High temperature on Saturday in the upper 30s. You can always get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
Everyone has been asking me, hey, radio guy, what's the forecast for winter? Well, spoiler alert, it's going to be cold, but there is something you can do. Call Cardall's Insulation. With better insulation, you'll be amazed at how much warmer your home is. Get this, as much as 35% of your home's heat is lost through your walls and attic. And if your home was built before 1980, it's even worse. And right now there's a tax credit up to $1,200 for upgrading your insulation. Call Cardall's Insulation for all the details. 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
So, wondering why CVTD is now called Connect? Well, let us explain. We connect James to his job, and we connect Marion to her grandkids' house to play board games. We connect Kevin to the grocery store every week. We connect Dallin to volunteer at the assisted living facility, and Peter to the skate park. Why are we called Connect? Isn't it obvious? Find your route today at rideconnectutah.gov.
This is James Boyd, Chief Development Officer at CAPSA. At CAPSA, you matter. Domestic and sexual violence impact 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men in our community. Despite its prevalence, it remains a hidden crisis affecting our friends, families, and neighbors. When you donate to CAPSA, you're supporting people in your life and across our community. Every donation to CAPSA is a profound statement to survivors that you matter. Join us and show survivors that they matter. Learn more about CAPSA and how you matter at CAPSA.org.
Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It's the movie show. It's just me, though. Andy's on his way. It is that time of year when it's dark outside already. And that makes me think about watching stuff, watching movies. This is something, Andy and I have talked about this before, and Charlie and I have talked about this too, when it comes to the theater. So it's not just, the movie theaters. It's this type of entertainment in general. But the pandemic came along and it changed things temporarily, but then maybe forever. So when the pandemic came along, the theaters closed. And that meant that, for most of 2020, there wasn't really anything new coming out. And then I think we started to get, there were a few things here and there, but I think we got our first major potential blockbuster in, Andy will probably correct me on this, I want to say it was July or August of 2020 was the first really big film that was released. And it's I'm double checking. Anyway, so it was at least half the year, if not more, that there really wasn't anything driving people to theaters. And then what happened for me, because I'm a person who loves movie theaters, and I am a person who probably annoys most of my friends and family members by being that person that has to see certain films in movie theaters. There are some movies that I'm disappointed if I miss them and have to see them on a small screen, even though our TVs are huge now in our homes too. But and surround sound is pretty impressive, sometimes better than the theaters actually at home. But there are some films. Dune was one, for example. That's one that I see the trailer for that, and you just know you got to see that on the big screen in a movie theater the first time. The Star Wars films, also another one that I'm like that with when they've come out. But even someone who feels like that, I got out of the habit. 2020 was enough that I'd been a person who I probably went to a theater with friends or family, or even occasionally by myself. If I was trying to see something before Friday, before the movie show, I would take advantage of random free time that would pop up during the week and catch a matinee. And I'd do that probably twice a month, at least, for most of my life, with, in general, averaging here. But because I'm sure there were gaps of a couple of months where I didn't go to a single movie, and then there were other times when I maybe saw 4 in a month. But I would say on average, I saw 2 a month most of my life since I was a teenager. And then 2020 came along, and I didn't make a decision to go to fewer movies or go to the theater less. To watch more on streaming services, or to be more willing to wait for something to hit a streaming service if it wasn't a have to see in the theater movie. But I got out of the habit of going to movies. So that 6 months or so, well, for me, I didn't see. So I was thinking about this as well. I remember the last movie I saw in a theater before the pandemic started, which here in Utah was roughly March of 2020. I saw 1917, which was an Oscar nominee, and I saw it, I think, when it came back for being a nominee or an Oscar winner. So I saw that late February sometime. I saw 1917, which, if you haven't seen that, it's great. One of the most amazing long shots without an edit that I think has ever been filmed. How they choreographed that trench scene that opens the movie without a single edit blows me away, because it's about 10 minutes long and there are no edits, and thousands of people doing stuff and just barely missing each other with ladders. Anyway, so I saw 1917 in theaters, and then I think the next film I saw in theaters was the first Dune. And so, no, I'm sorry. It was the Top Gun sequel. So I got out of the habit of going to movies. Well, it appears I'm not alone. A study published this week by Ernst & Young found that 80% of the people they surveyed have seen a movie in the theaters in the past year. And the survey basically says streaming services are not killing movie theaters. But, and here's the part that was interesting. The streaming services provide a platform that obviously they're going to offer content that never hits the theaters. They also provide a platform that sometimes augments or supplements content that hits the theaters. I think Disney Plus with their Star Wars series And then you have a Disney, Star Wars owned by Disney now, Lucasfilm owned by Disney now. You have a Disney Star Wars movie hit the theaters, and they time those so they can be complementary, basically. But what Ernst & Young found in surveying over the last 4 years, they've done this survey, they just published it this week, they found that what streaming services had done was they'd provided so much content and so many choices that though there is little evidence they are direct competition to movie theaters, they are contributing to what I'm talking about here with that whole getting out of the habit thing. So they're not killing movie theaters, but they're definitely raising the bar on movie theaters and chains especially needing to get more creative to entice us in. I'll link to the research that Ernst & Young did on our Facebook page if you'd like to read it. And we'll see if the theaters, pick this challenge up or not. We'll be back. The For the People movie show with Andy Morgan continues right after this.
Not sure what to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Does the thought of that mess turn you off? Then call Beehive Pub and Grill. They have an amazing family-style Thanksgiving meal ready to go. Just order by Saturday, November 23rd by 5 p.m. Pick up on November 27th between noon and 6. Heat and serve. That's it. A full Thanksgiving meal with all the normal fix-ins without the hassle. Prices will vary. Order for 2 or get meals for 6. Call for details. Beehive Pub and Grill, Logan.
I will be right by your side.
Women can have it all, including heart attacks. But symptoms like jaw pain, nausea, unusual fatigue, dizziness, and backache are often different and more subtle than for a man. The fact is, heart disease is the #1 killer of women. Know the signs. Learn more at getheartchecked.org. From Women's Heart Alliance, in partnership with Women Heart.
25 NCAA championships, 18 conference championships.
And the Aggies are going dancing.
10 tournament championships.
The Aggies are pulling out the scissors, and they're going to cut down the nest.
Our winning culture continues. Our Utah State Aggies play here on the Aggie Sports Network.
Pre-game begins 1 hour before tip-off. Don't miss game day on your home of the Aggies. News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. Sorry, wrong microphone. Sorry about that.
Hey, that's okay.
There you go.
Hey, everybody.
It has been a day, to say the least. I started the show, so they put these new monitors in. You see these curved monitors.
Ooh,
fancy. I haven't adjusted them yet, so I right now people can't see if I'm in the studio.
I couldn't
see.
They're so big. Are they for protection?
And you can lower them, and Thomas was going to lower them, and I'm like, no, leave them up there. Nobody knows if I'm here. But the problem is I started the show. I had the board all ready to go. I had the clock all ready to go. The show was built, and the intro starts, and I listened to the part where I usually start talking, and then I went like this out of habit, and there was no microphone. I hadn't bothered to check. My microphone was on the other side of the table because these arms are really long, and I had to run around and grab it before I could talk.
You know?
It's been a day.
It happens. Hey, I have a question for you. You and I both are within the similar age range, and we both enjoy a good yacht rock song. Have you seen this trailer?
When you get lost between the world and New York. Oh, sorry, what?
That was really pretty.
That's the first sound that goes through my head whenever anybody says yacht rock.
You know what it is for me?
Christopher Columbus.
It's Christopher Cross to you.
I don't know why,
but maybe
that just came out of my mouth.
I'm sure he was a good singer. I mean, we don't know.
He was into yachts.
He was big yachts.
That's why he popped into my head.
No, this
who doesn't think of yachts and.
This premieres on HBO Max. I refuse to call it Max. on November 29th.
Isn't that the dumbest corporate decision you have ever seen? Let's take our name out of it.
It probably ranks up there somewhere.
Wait, who are we? We're HBO, but let's leave that out.
HBO on the go, and then now it's HBO. HBO
now,
Max should have been.
Let's just call it Go.
Yeah.
Don't.
I mean, it's probably.
Let's just call it Don't.
Hey, have you guys watched anything on Plus? What's that? I don't know. Which one is it? Paramount? Disney?
Start one that's just nuh-uh. Let everybody figure out what the content is by signing up.
You guys, I got a new app. It's called Stream Time. What are you streaming?
Stuff.
Good stuff.
Download the Stuff
app.
Yeah. Everybody has an app now.
Do you have the Buy app? That's probably a thing, actually. I just did a promotion. No, there's a documentary coming out on November 29th. It's called Yacht Rock, Documentary, D-O-C-K, Documentary. Yeah. They were like, hey, guys, this will be funny. Well, so here's what I thought was interesting.
Dad joke in your Yacht Rock documentary promotion.
I love that music. And
there's something fun about it.
Well, they talk about a couple things that I think is valid.
Do you describe it as good music, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there was a couple things. One is it was kind of at the crossroads of this songwriting, musical talent sort of convergence in Los Angeles in like the mid to late 70s.
Yeah.
You had people like all living in the same like apartment building, like Kenny Loggins and the Eagles.
They all knew each other.
Yeah, Michael McDonald. I mean, like Michael McDonald would be up in his apartment playing a tune, and it's like Glenn Fry would come up and be like, "Hey, what's this?" Something like, you know what I mean? Linda Ronstadt, same place.
Everybody hating Steve Winwood.
Yeah, and
stop yodeling.
No. And Yacht Rock came later, the title Yacht Rock. In fact, some of these guys embrace it. Others think it's disrespectful. But what I love about it is the other thing, that there's a cultural phenomenon, too, that you've had Michael McDonald and like Christopher Cross, these guys that, they kind of were produced out of this like 50s and 60s, like, African-American kind of soul, like really, you know what I mean? And they loved that music, and then they kind of took it on to their level. But what's interesting is there was very few people that made it out of that generation into the MTV era. And Christopher Cross actually says this. He said, in my career, it was true. Like video killed the radio star, because nobody knew what Christopher Cross looked like. He looks like one of the Hobbits. And so when he's on the radio, people are like, that's a voice of an angel, then video comes along and they're like, what's with his little captain cap? And why is he 5'2"? And he's a portly fella. Michael McDonald kind of made it out because he went solo and he did a lot of things for movies similar to what Kenny Loggins did.
Cut his hair.
Kenny Loggins probably wouldn't have moved on if he hadn't have done, I think he was actually ahead of his time doing stuff for Caddyshack.
Yeah, I think Kenny Loggins realized that there was money to be made in having a song on a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And he just did that a lot.
To have yourself still, in the top 40.
Yeah.
But
and he had the Loggins and Messina royalties too that he could.
Yeah, I love how people change teams like a lot.
Foundation for
you had Seals and Crofts, right?
Yeah.
And then Dan Seals leaves Seals and Crofts, and he goes to England Dan and John Ford Coley. Which I'd really love to see you tonight, guys. And then he's like, maybe I'll do a country western and just be Dan Seals.
Yeah. Which worked better
and
for
then,
him.
Weirdly, he got a job at SeaWorld, just taking care of seals. So he was Dan Seals in charge of seals. That's not true. I made that part up.
Could be true, though.
That was fake news, folks.
Actually, that seems more of a Christopher Cross story.
No, actually, I felt bad. I went and saw Christopher Cross 2 years ago, actually at the tail end.
I thought he died.
He almost died.
That's what it is. He did almost die, right?
During COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in bad shape. I mean, he told the story. He's like, I was at death's door. And
I remember that.
Honestly, it was kind of sad because I'm here at this concert with all these old people, and I'm like, man, I don't feel good. Like 3 days later, I'm like, oh, I have COVID. Sorry, everyone. But, we'll be okay now with old
he was almost
RFK Jr. We're good to go.
Oh, I almost dad joked the living daylights out of that.
Speaking of the living daylights, James Bond, we got some new James Bond movement. You like my segue there?
Did you see everybody was mad at Daniel Craig for saying something I thought was pretty reasonable? He basically, sometime earlier this week, Daniel Craig just said, James Bond got old.
Old himself or just old, like
playing James Bond.
Of course
He said by I think he said 5th movie. Was he in 5 movies? I think he said 5th movie.
I don't know.
No, he only did 3, right?
Let me fact check you.
Anyway, I can't remember his exact quote. I thought he said by the 5th movie, the excitement had worn off. I was fulfilling my contract.
He was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
movies. Okay,
I think.
So he basically, in an interview this week with a British tabloid,
the dumbest titles.
He said, "I know." He said they asked him if he missed playing James Bond. I was going to miss it.
No,
he said absolutely not. And people were surprised he said that. And he explained though in the interview. He said by the 5th movie, I was done. I was bored with this character. I couldn't do anything else with it, and I was just fulfilling the contract. I'd agreed to 5 movies. I was just doing it. And people were so mad at him for that. You ungrateful. They should have never let him. I thought it was a pretty reasonable thing for anyone to say. That it would get a little repetitious.
Can I ask you a question?
And it's not like James Bond is a super complex.
I love it when people are like, well, those other ones are good. And I'm like, they're not.
Yeah, the only good one was the one with Roger Daltrey.
I can't decide if you're mispronouncing names on purpose now.
That one was on purpose. The
Roger Daltrey and Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus one was an accident.
Favorite.
That was a total accident. The Roger Daltrey one was
my favorite. You got Roger Moore and what is the guy's name?
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton. That's funny. And you actually mixed Roger Daltrey. You actually mixed Timothy Dalton, Roger Moore, and Sean Connery all together to make Roger Daltrey.
For those who don't know, part of my goal every movie show is to see if I can get Andy to tell me to shut up.
No, I actually do this a lot of times just to bug my kids. I'll be like,
say something wrong.
No, I'll just be like, man, I love that movie and I'll just come up with some name
My mom used to do that.
Van Diesels. They're like, who? And I'm like, Van Diesels.
I made the mistake. My mom was quite a smart aleck, and I made the mistake once after taking a year of Spanish in high school of correcting her on the lyrics of La Bamba.
Oh, I think
and
nobody
it got
knew.
worse. It got worse.
Hey,
it was just la 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 Bamba, and she did it on purpose, and it would make me so mad.
I have a question for you. Speaking of new things going on this week, did you get a chance to watch the season opener of Yellowstone for season 5, part 2? That's 2 years.
I did. Can we go ahead and spoil it?
Well, if you've
maybe not.
Maybe. Hey, if you raise your hand right now, if you don't know, let me say this without spoiling it. Let me say this: I will be very interested to hear from Taylor Sheridan at the end of the season on what his original plan pre-Costner's departure was, because I can say right now, we obviously like the other characters.
This seemed hastily patched together.
Yeah, we obviously like Rip and we like Casey and we don't like Monica. We like Beth sometimes.
Do you know what my problem is? If you go into a show expecting what I'm about to complain about, it's one thing. But when you start out with a show that's about Montana ranches and cattle and land disputes and power structure in the state and corrupt politicians influencing and developers trying to take advantage of ranchers, that is Yellowstone to me. That's where it started. And I feel the whole time I watched this episode, all I could think about were all the jokes I made when they put the car in space in Fast and the Furious. What was that? 3, 4? Did you ever watch Friday Night Lights?
Yeah.
A really good series, but by season 4, they're working with the FBI to bring down a cartel. It's no longer about high school football in a small town.
I can see what
That's
you're
how
saying.
I feel about Yellowstone. That meeting, the meeting in the dark room in this episode, she's talking to.
Oh yeah, with the glass table.
Yeah,
it's funny when I was watching
I kept waiting
that
for the Law and Order sound. I'm like dun dun.
Yeah, no. When I was watching
just
that,
too much.
I thought I get why the chairs and the table were clear and whatever.
Yeah.
it served a functional purpose. But I just kept thinking, who cleans that? Somebody comes in every night and they're like, gosh, dang it. Can we give people gloves? Also, why is there a print on this one, on the chair? Like, did this person not have pants?
Who wasn't wearing pants?
Yeah. I get it. I
just feel like
Taylor Sheridan, I feel he's good. I mean,
I think he's a good dialogue writer. I think he needs to partner with someone that does plots.
Well, I mean, but think about it though.
I feel like he loses control of it.
You look at his. See, this is where you and I diverge a little bit because I am weirdly, despite not loving, like seeing how this season's going to go. I'm kind of a Taylor. Remember when I used to be a Michael Bay apologist, and then I stopped. And then I stopped after Transformers 2.
I still am. Well, yeah.
But no, I got to.
That's fair.
I was like, okay, there's that.
Stop defending you, Mike.
I can't even say it. It's probably not even appropriate to say on the radio what happened in Transformers 2. But
that was horrible.
For Taylor Sheridan, what I like about him, I think he's. I'm a little nervous for his future, and here's why: he was a bit actor in a lot of stuff. I think the last job he had was Sons of Anarchy, and the story he tells is that he was looking for a raise, and I think the show's producer basically said something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, he deserves a raise, but this dude, we could replace this guy with anybody." He's 11th on the call sheet, I think what the statement was.
Such an oversight because he, despite my criticisms of Yellowstone jumping the shark at this point, in my opinion, which started actually in season 3 for me, but he's really talented.
No, I mean when you look at where where he came into it is, he says, "I'm done acting." He starts writing. He writes.
He's good at it.
The first thing he wrote was Sicario. Which was
one of my favorites.
Fantastic. I mean, that's a rewatchable one for me all the time.
Somehow made what's his name interesting.
Then he did Hell or High Water, which was fantastic.
Also fantastic.
Then
if you haven't seen that, you should see that.
Yeah, he also did Wind River. That was his first he wrote that, but that was his first time behind the director's chair.
Is that Jeremy Renner?
Mm-hmm. And
Snowmobile. Yeah,
it's Renner and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that one. He obviously, he does have an affinity for movies told in the heartland in the West. So,
which is cool.
Yellowstone. I'll be honest with you, Jason. I was not. I saw it advertised all the time, and I saw Kevin Costner, and I did the same thing with that I kind of did with Game of Thrones. When I first saw Game of Thrones advertised in 2011, and I saw, I see Ned Stark, who's played by the guy that played Boromir in Lord of the Rings, and I see Cersei Lannister, who's the same person that's played the Queen in 300. I just thought to myself, okay, we're cast typing these people. We're just we're going to milk this.
That's what it looked like.
That's what and so when I saw Yellowstone, I went, oh look, it's Kevin Costner playing a cowboy. It was either that or baseball, like if they wanted to hit it out of the park, no pun intended. and so I didn't watch it. I didn't care. And then we finished watching Game of Thrones with some friends. And at the end, they were like, what do you want to watch next? And, I had other ideas. And they were like, let's watch Yellowstone. And I was like, oh, boy, cowboys.
Let's.
And I got to be honest, I was locked in. Now, I will say.
Why I started watching it? In the first season, there's a scene filmed at the convenience store / bar in Hennepin.
Okay, yeah.
And I heard that from relatives that I have a family in Morgan. And
when they used to film in Utah until Utah basically kicked them out.
And then
not on purpose.
And then Kevin,
by their bad decisions, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not Utah's fault. It was.
It was Utah's fault.
Or, I mean, it wasn't the showrunner's fault.
Yeah,
it was Utah's fault.
Hey.
And that's.
Give us more money.
Yeah, that was so short-sighted. That was the legislature, basically. Can we keep this going on the other side of the news?
Wait a minute. What? The legislature?
Yeah.
Was that a Dan McKay thing?
Probably. Every idea that's bad, it's Dan
Why do you
McKay
hate
thing.
Yellowstone, Dan? I'm not just going to be ignored, Dan.
We should keep talking about this on the other side because I've just had an idea that would fix my complaint about Yellowstone and would also be really fun for people.
Your complaint can be valid. Don't let anybody tell you that. Who told you your complaint wasn't valid?
Hold on. We'll keep talking about this just Yellowstone here on the movie show with Andy Morgan. Actually, no, we have a lot to talk about, and we'll get to it right after the news with Bill Walter, or KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson. Utah's newly formed fentanyl task force met for the first time Thursday morning with dozens of law enforcement officials, agency heads, and healthcare advisors huddling in the state capitol to begin hashing out their approach to combat the growing threat posed by the synthetic opioid. Governor Cox announced the task force at a press conference last month, noting the number of fentanyl pill seizures has increased dramatically in the past several years. The deadly effects of fentanyl have also been on the rise in Utah, according to Megan Brokemeyer, a drug overdose prevention research coordinator with the state office of the medical examiner. She told the task force fentanyl surpassed methamphetamine in 2023 as the drug most commonly involved in overdoses in the state. The Logan High Grizzlies are sponsoring a youth basketball clinic Saturday in the Grizzly Den at the Logan Rec Center for 7 to 11-year-olds from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. and then for 12 to 14-year-olds from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Registration fee is $50 for each. To register, go to Instagram.com/LoganGrizzBasketball. You can also email Matt Scabland, matt.scabland@loganschools.org. And college football tomorrow afternoon, USU hosting Hawaii as they get back to home action on Merlin Olsen Field. 1 o'clock is the kickoff. We'll be on the air at 11 with game day here on KBNU. And hopefully the weather will cooperate. It's supposed to do that as we check the forecast now. Brought to you by Triton Medical Supply and Transportation, a partner for your medical needs. Top quality medical soft goods like incontinence supplies and oxygen needs. Call 435-557-6687 or go to mytritonsupply.com. We do have a good chance of rain tonight, 90% chance, and then possibly mixing in with snow late tonight, low in the upper 20s. But new snow accumulation less than half an inch possible in the overnight hours. A little bit of snow possible early Saturday, again, about a half inch at best, and it's supposed to be moving out of here by 11 a.m. tomorrow. And so hopefully it will be done for after by the time the USU football game gets started. It is going to be cold, high tomorrow in the upper 30s. Get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries acknowledging last Tuesday's election results. He said the will of the people was heard, but the Democrats are not just going to roll over.
When we're confronted with nominations like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., are these the best individuals available?
And any extreme policy proposals?
Always push back whenever necessary against far-right extremism that will hurt the American people.
President-elect Trump announced that Interior Secretary nominee Doug Burgum will also lead a newly created National Energy Council tasked with establishing U.S. energy dominance worldwide. Oklahoma School Superintendent Ryan Walters requiring local districts to show his video announcing a new Department of Religious Freedom and Patriotism. The state's Attorney General says Walters has no such authority. This is ABC News.
Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified, fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon, and I want to restore your active, pain-free life. I've been an innovator in the treatment of knee pain caused by arthritis and sports injuries for 27 years. I'm the only surgeon in northern Utah to offer Omnibotics, a robotic-assisted knee replacement for your arthritic knee, which has a 97% patient satisfaction rate. Don't live with your knee pain another day. Visit drkeithnelsonortho.com. That's drkeithnelsonortho.com.
Dr. Nelson accepts most insurances, including select health plans.
This holiday season, we're grateful for you at Murdoch Chevrolet GMC Cadillac. Let's celebrate together during our Season of Giving sales event. We're grateful for your trust, your loyalty, and the moment you've shared with us. Right now, take up to $11,000 off a new GMC Sierra 1500. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family at Murdoch Chevrolet GMC Cadillac in Logan or online at MurdochChevroletLogan.com. GMC, We are professional grade.
Call 888-391-6083 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 11/30/24.
Once in your life, you find her, someone who turns your heart around, and next thing you know, you're closing down the town. Wake up and it's
Welcome back. Wait, hold on. Welcome back to KVNU's For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan.
It's me and Jason. We're going to take you through the 5 p.m. hour. Hope you're sitting there with a nice hot cup of Joe. And
you know, I was way too young to understand a single thing about the movie, but that the movie Arthur, that's Arthur's theme for those that aren't huge Christopher Cross fans. That movie, Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli
and Sir Arthur Gielgud,
and Sir Arthur Gielgud. That movie was so funny to me as a very, very young child. Yeah. Again, I didn't understand any of the themes.
Great.
And then you get older and you realize that it's this struggling alcoholic drinking himself to. I'm like, well, that's not funny at all.
You know what you should go see, or not see, but you know what you should look up, and I think this is on Max, is go watch the movie 10 with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek. And I believe Julie Andrews is in that too. Anyhow, go watch that. And here's why I say watch this: is when I was a kid, the cover of the VHS was kind of controversial because it was Bo Derek and she's running on a beach and she's got like this braided hair and she's in a like kind of a skimpy swimsuit. And I remember going into like as a kid, we'd be at the I think it was called America's Video or America Video over by where like the Beaver Mountain ski office and Plasma Place is over in the Al's Sporting Goods shopping area. Anyway, it used to be there. One of the bigger VHS places to rent a VHS back in the 80s when I was a kid. And I would always see that on the shelf.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, that's provocative. I wonder what that's about.
It was like a leg, right?
Yeah. So I never got to watch it. Because I thought it was like kind of a dirty movie, right? And it is R-rated for reasons. But I'm going to tell you what, that movie is hilarious. Hilarious. It's so funny. Seriously, you need to go watch it. You need to go watch it. Go watch it, Jason. Run to the movies.
I will go right now.
No, again, if you're a fan of kind of like, it reminds me a lot of like kind of like the Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgins, but like a, early 80s version of it. It was pretty funny. Anyway.
Who is that by again?
Who directed 10? I think it's Blake Edwards.
Okay. Yeah.
He was married to Julie Andrews.
Okay.
But anyway, Dudley Moore is hilarious. His physical comedy and just kind of his delivery of lines.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, kind of what put Bo Derek on the map. She's not, I don't know. I don't have anything.
Dudley Moore was in one about advertising that has one of the funniest jokes about a Volvo.
Was it the one with Eddie Murphy where they're arms dealers?
No, well, maybe later. He's an advertising exec, and he's got an account where he's trying to market the Volvo.
He was actually good at music.
He comes up with the boxy but good.
That's a great. I'm looking through the movies here. He kind of, his career kind of faded out in the late 80s.
Yeah.
He did Arthur II on the Rocks.
Oh, I forgot that happened.
He had Crazy People that was him and Daryl Hannah. That didn't really land.
Not as funny as Ruthless People. From the same era.
I know. And remember
Bette Midler and Danny DeVito. Have you seen that? Judge Reinhold.
Oh yeah,
that is one of the funniest movies. It was
Mickey and Maude. Do you remember that was another Dudley Moore?
I remember Mickey and Maude.
Best Defense. That's the one I'm thinking of with Eddie Murphy. That was 1984. What else was he in? He was in Unfaithfully Yours. I think he was actually in a movie with Mary Steenburgen called Romantic Comedy. Oh, you know what's a really sad movie is Okay, I forgot about this. 6 Weeks with Dudley Moore and Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh,
it's so sad.
That's depressing.
That came out after Arthur. Arthur was 81. And
if you see that, you're going to immediately need to run to the theater and see Red One.
Yeah. Oh.
For your comedic.
Yeah. But anyway.
Don't do that. You'll be depressed for two reasons.
Don't do that. Yeah. Actually, you bring up a good point. So, what is, let's talk about what we can watch streaming and what's also in theaters. Red One.
Conclave finally made it here.
It did.
It's 3 weeks old now.
Yeah, that's PG, by the way. And there are some times, like I think in Providence right now, there's 2 show times, 7:15 and 10 p.m.
Is it long, you said?
It's pretty long.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's the sequel to Forrest Gump here. That's still playing in the Valley. Best Christmas Pageant Ever is still playing.
I'm right. Here, Jenny.
Red One.
Now I'm over here, Jenny.
Red One.
That's why it's called Here.
Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock, said something that I was like, Dwayne. He said that he was watching Oppenheimer in the same seat that Nolan sits in to when he watches his movies in IMAX, and Mr. Rock Johnson said... I love how you're moaning already.
I can see where this is going.
He said, I was sitting there in that seat and I thought, boy, Red One is going to look so good on this IMAX screen.
Oh, that's exactly where I thought.
And if anyone ever wants to know why Hollywood is struggling, Oppenheimer, which made $400 million domestically, cost $100 million to make. Red One, which will be just throttled at the box office, it'll probably have one good week, which will be this week. And then it'll get blown out by Wicked, and it's going to get blown out by
Wicked's going to wipe the slate.
Wicked and Gladiator II.
Wicked's like,
we'll forget Red One until they're like now streaming on Netflix.
Yeah, I think Wicked's a little bit like the Twilight movies because Wicked comes into theaters with this pre-built fan base.
For real. Yeah, I mean,
like a Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie.
No, you're 100% right because, like I said, Red One. I bet Red One doesn't make its budget back, which was $250 million.
Weird. It looks great.
But I will say this. Inside Out and Deadpool and Wolverine right now are the 2 highest grossing movies domestically for the year. Inside Out is $650 million. Deadpool and Wolverine is $636 million. I would not put it within reason or without probability. That's probably the better word, that Wicked comes very close, if not past those.
Past those before the end of the year. And then is there anything else other than Gladiator 2 this year that will even compete?
I mean, you've got stuff coming in
big releases.
You've got stuff coming in December, but I think, really your big ones this year seem to be coming in, in November, which is kind of strange. Actually,
that was weird.
Yeah, it is a little strange because normally, they're a little spaced out. But I also thought Wicked and Gladiator coming out at the same time was a little strange.
Also, Wicked, to me, Wicked seems like not just a holiday film, but a December holiday film. A week or 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm again
throwing it out now.
Again pretty surprised at. I still am surprised that Heretic isn't here. That just kind of blows me away.
Yeah, that seems strange.
If you look at kind of again, if we sort of fast forward into the future, that they don't have that scheduled at all. I've gone through the calendar and looked. But yeah, next Thursday, Gladiator 2, Wicked. You can see those early. If we go further out into Thanksgiving, right, into the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, Moana will open up the Wednesday before Thanksgiving Day. So that's the big release that week. And then as you were wondering, Jason, as we slide into December, not really a whole lot that kind of starts the month off. When we get into let me look really quick here. Mufasa, The Lion King, the sequel to The Lion King, or kind of a prequel that's directed by Barry Jenkins. That comes out the week before Christmas, December 20th. And then the week of Christmas itself, then you're looking at, and in fact, it might just be the timing, to be honest, because the Christmas holiday lands in kind of a weird spot.
Yeah.
So
not a good movie release.
No. So I think you're probably going to see, that's why I think Wicked's going to kind of knock it out of the park. I just don't think there's anything that's really going to compete with it over the next 60 days.
Yeah, that's
honestly. I mean, how many theater kids do you know that are going to show up on day one and you're going to be like, well, I picked the wrong day to go see this.
So crowded.
I didn't realize everyone's going to be singing.
So much crying.
I will also say when you do look at
singing.
So much singing that I was not noticing this. I did actually fail to mention, I am so sorry. I failed to mention a few Christmas movies that I forgot that Nosferatu is one that comes out.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. I mean, again,
when should we put that out?
Well,
it's a holiday movie.
Christmas. There's also another comedy, Y2K, that comes out. Again, these are movies that I want to see that I don't think other people are they're not going to tilt the scales of the box office. There's another movie called The Order with Jude Law and Nicholas Hoult that looks really good. I think, I mean, there's, again, a lot of just small ones. And then, we should, there's a lot coming out. Oh, you know what we forgot even? We made fun of it, but Kraven the Hunter, that's also a December movie. I apologize.
That's another one that...
Just
Why
because...
are they doing...
there's some other Oscar type ones.
I can't believe our movie tanked.
No.
That's a holiday movie.
There's also some other limited releases that'll come out that are going to kind of be Oscar type ones, like Nickel Boys. If you've read the book by Colson Whitehead, that's coming out.
I still think that has the potential. I'll shut up. We've got to
The
get one more
Brutalist
break
is
in
another
here.
one with
Nickel Boys.
Adrian Brody that will probably be that's a limited in December. That'll be another kind of.
I could see Nickel Boys being one of those sleeper blockbusters, but I don't know.
I don't think. I'll be honest with you. I'd be surprised if it breaks. 150 million.
Everybody should go see it. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I think it has some clout.
They might ruin it, but assuming they don't ruin the book.
It's on my short list so far for potential best pictures. Not winners, but nominees. Yeah. So, anyway.
All right. For the People Movie Show here on KVNU continues right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
The Eccles Ice Center tonight. Weber State invades Aggie home ice. See all the hockey action beginning at 7 o'clock tonight. Make sure they know this is the Aggies' house. Avoid the long lines. Get your tickets early at usuhockey.com. That's usuhockey.com. And day of at the Eccles Ice Center in North Logan. USU Hockey and Weber State tonight at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. sharp. Do you have your tickets?
The Aggies return home to continue conference play Saturday afternoon as they host the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
All I care about is these kids' effort. I mean, it's been unbelievable. No one plays hard when you're 2-7, and these guys are freaking fighting to the end, so it's so fun to see.
Pre-game begins at 11. Kickoff is at 1. And post-game and Aggie Call immediately follows the game. It's the Aggies and the Rainbow Warriors. Saturday afternoon on News Talk KVNU. The Heritage Home for the Aggies.
You know it's yacht rock even before you hear the lyrics.
It just says, you know what? Everything's going to be okay.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yacht Rock edition. We're celebrating the Yacht Rock documentary hitting HBO Max this month. And
just Max.
Yeah, HBO Max. I had a book to recommend to you, Andy, and I want someone to turn it into a movie, but I can't find it or remember it, so that'll have to wait a little bit.
Is it the sequel to The Firm?
Yes.
Just joking.
I did pick up now it's 4 years old, but I didn't get it at the time, but it was in paperback somewhere cheap recently. I picked up the sequel to A Time to Kill.
Yeah, Time for Mercy.
Time for Mercy.
I have that.
And that's pretty good so
haven't
far.
read it. Hey, really quick, we were talking about Yellowstone. We'll move on from that. We'll just see where that lands. But there are some new things streaming this week. The movie that's really kind of being the controversial, like people either love it, they're like best picture,
really,
or people just can't. They're like, I am going to poke my eyes out. It's called Amelia Perez, and it stars Zoe Saldana.
Oh, I saw a trailer.
Selena Gomez, Adriana Paz. Anyway, it also, and I'm going to probably butcher this name, so I apologize, but also stars transgender telenova star Carla Sofia Gascon. I hope I said that good enough.
Speaking of that, did you see Martin Scorsese gave a big glowing review way after the fact of the Glow of the TV, the Sundance movie?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, just today I was
Interesting.
reading that.
But yeah, Amelia Perez is now streaming on Netflix. And again, the opinions on this are so wide. I've not had a chance to see it yet. We can talk about it next week, but it just hit Netflix and it's a musical.
Wait, which one's that?
Amelia Perez.
Oh, okay. I assumed that was a long ways off.
No. Nope. It's there.
I just watched the trailer last night. That looks really good.
Yep. And then there's some other things. So David Lowery, the guy that we love, who did the remake of Pete's Dragon.
Oh yeah.
He's got one on Disney Plus right now. It's called An Almost Christmas Story. And I believe I want to say it might be like motion animation. But it's actually a short film, by the way, too, and it's a follow-up.
Boy, Neil Gaiman's going to be mad.
I can't remember if it's a follow-up to his Peter and Wendy, but anyway, Twisters is also streaming right now.
Yeah, that finally hit.
Yeah,
right?
You can watch that starting is today the 15th? I don't even know. That's on Peacock. Silo Season 2 is on Apple TV Plus. Gotta have the plus.
Yeah.
And then your favorite, Hot Frosty, is on Netflix. That's another Christmas movie. No,
excited.
The one you should watch, though, is Thelma with June Squibb. It's like a Mission Impossible old person revenge movie.
Yeah.
Where somebody, does some identity theft, and she's like,
she hires someone to go track them down for.
Yeah, she does it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
she does
her
it.
and Shaft's Richard Roundtree. They're like, nope, here we come.
Honestly, it was a Sundance audience favorite, and
I hate you so bad right now.
Next week, I'll have a brief review of We Live in Time. I just wanted to tell this quickly. I panned this when I saw the trailer. I went,
You loved it.
And as I've watched more and read more about it and heard people talk about it that I know that have seen it, I've decided it looks kind of good.
Well, next week will be Gladiator.